Reddit tree presents various paranormal activities. First event. 1 October, I had a dream of being in a beautiful mansion for a dirty Santa party. The dream was short and uneventful. I just helped move gifts into the main area. I distinctly remember the grand piano, the chest under the piano with a snowman on it, and the spiral staircase. I even told my mom about it. Months later, in December, we attended a Christmas party at a family friend's house. They're rich as hell. It seemed pretty normal until I was asked to carry presents into the main area for Dirty Santa. Every detail from my dream played out. I felt weightless suddenly, my heart pounding in my ears. The dream was coming true. It terrified me and I nearly passed out. I'd never been to their house before. I wasn't close with them, so I couldn't have known what it looked like. I've had a few other prophetic dreams, but they've all been insignificant. Second event. My first experience was in 2013 to 2014, it's hard to remember, I was around 16 to 17 I think. My mom and stepdad were at work, quite sure cause I checked the car outside and sure as heck it wasn't there. My little sister was at the daycare too. I was home alone and I just woke up and decided to cook bacon for breakfast. Midway through cooking, our door that leads to the garage opened suddenly. It was a windy day, but I can assure you that there was no way for the wind to get in our garage and open it by itself. The door was a little broken at the time, but it always closed tight and you can open it only by applying a strong push to it. The garage was dark and I saw that door opened in front me and I did not see any arm push it. I was puzzled and scared at the thought of paranormal, but I still went to the door with a knife in hand and asked who's there. I still have no clue to this day. Third event. My is what people call sleep paralysis, I suppose. This was 2 to 3 years prior to the event. I had my first episode of sleep paralysis, which felt odd. I can't remember much of my dream that night, but I think it happened between 2 to 3 a.m. I suddenly woke up from a chill and got up. I couldn't breathe. That was a wake-up call for me, no lie. I tried to spit out help in my native language, but it wouldn't come out. Then I tried praying in my head, Our Father, thou art in heaven, holy be thy name, thy kingdom come. Right after that line, I got my breathing back and fell asleep. I haven't fully told my folks about these experiences, but I would like to hear opinions from others. Fourth event. So, I've had paranormal stuff happen, sort of. Like I see things at time. Mostly while out and about, and I have an entity that is harassing me in my dreams, but I've never had a paranormal thing happen where I've seen it so clearly. Background on me: when I was little I never liked being around kids because they were always strange to me. But I heard voices and saw strange things all the time at school. And knew better than to mess with all this stuff I didn't understand. But it's never happened to me in my own home like what I just witnessed. I don't know if I will be posting this the instant I finish writing, or the next morning. So I'm just gonna timestamp it. September 15th, 2020 is when this happened. My mom lives in the southern part of the state. I live up north, so I rarely get to see her. But my birthday is coming up and I wanted to spend it with her. On top of that, this year has been super brutal. Stress from COVID, then my grandmother, who lived in the house my mom is in, died this year, and then my BFS cat died soon after. And just a week or so ago from this date my great-grandmother died. We buried her in a white coffin, but I'll explain why I believe that to be relevant in a moment. As I said before, I've had paranormal stuff in my life for as long as I remember. Voices, noises, sometimes visions, but it's mostly about small minuet stuff like classes. But never something this personal, this close to a family member's death. Which is partially why this freaked me out. I mean, as I'm typing this, I am shaking violently and absolutely terrified. So, it was a long drive to get to my mother's house, which is actually owned by my grandfather, who is the spouse of my grandmother who died earlier in the year. When you first walk in, you see the door on the right which leads to his room, and the doorway on your left which leads to the living room. It doesn't have a working door, so there's a curtain/sheet acting as a doorway. Which is part of the reason this is so scary. So we got home late, everyone was tired, I wanted to curl up in blankets because it was cold inside. But we have to unload the car. We do so, but mom leaves some stuff outside. An air mattress and some curtains I can only assume she got from my late great-grandmother. So I go down to get it. It was after a shower, so I'm pretty awake. I went downstairs to get it, which was just outside the door by the stairs. Mind you, from where I was standing, I could see some of my grandfather's door, and the complete view of the living room sheet door from where I stand. So I had my phone and a knife because I don't go anywhere without either for a good reason. But for some reason, when I'm piling the curtains on the bag with the air mattress, I look up. I don't know why I looked up, but I did. In that instant, I saw what I can only describe as a slender man, tall, completely white figure, speed through the hall between my grandfather's door, and into the living room. What further confirmed my suspicion was after I saw it move the curtain, I watched for a good 10 seconds to see if it moved like it normally did when someone walked in. And it did. For that 10 seconds it moved in waves in and out of the room like it always does when someone moves it to walk in. As I said, I can only describe it as a slender man-like creature. It was tall enough to reach the top of the doorway, which I will measure later and edit the measurements in, and was white from head to toe. No features, no hair. Just a bald white head, long arms, and long legs. I could see the back of the head as it went in, the arm it used to throw back the curtains, and the foot that followed it inside. For a moment, I thought it was my grandfather, so I called out, "Hello? Grandpa?" No answer. So I watched the door in case it was him, and brought the stuff in because I was already terrified of being out at night as is. But I figured my grandfather wouldn't answer as he's grumpy at this time. So I go to the curtain. With the air going in that room, it blows out just enough to make a crack where I can look inside without touching the curtain, and mind you, the air is blowing directly onto the curtain, and doesn't this stays on end with no change in the current unless someone walks by, which no one did, so there's no way it was that. Anyways, as I looked in to see if he was sitting in the chair, because he music station was on, there was no one there. I moved the curtain and stepped in. Empty. I instantly ran back out and ran up the stairs telling my mother everything. She made fun of me for it, but I know what I saw. So the reason I said that the white coffin detail might be important, was because the figure was white, and so was her coffin. Is there a connection? Thing is, I've heard about faces, and black shadows, but I've never heard of a white figure. What does that mean? And am I in any danger? Suffice to say, I'm definitely grateful that I'm in my brother's room for the remainder of my stay here. Fifth event. I've never believed in ghosts. I don't believe in an afterlife or anything paranormal. But I've never been able to explain this experience my friends and I had one weekend. This was about 8 years ago, and I had moved into my parents' old lake house with my girlfriend at the time. This place was relatively secluded, and always had a kinda weird vibe, especially the upstairs guest bedroom. There was no known history of anything bad happening in this house. One weekend, my friend, let's call him John, and his two roommates, Christine and Katie, were staying the night with us. My GF and I decided we were going to make dinner for everybody, so we left to the grocery store. When we pulled back up to the house, we noticed the silhouette of John through the privacy glass of the upstairs shower, and it looked like he was with one of the girls. Since Christine had a boyfriend, we assumed it was Katie. My GF commented, "Oh, John and Katie getting freaky in the shower." I didn't know they were a thing. And we both laughed. Only once we went inside, both Katie and Christine were downstairs on the couch watching TV, and both of them had completely dry hair. My girlfriend and I looked at each other in shock, but didn't say anything. We went over to set the groceries down when John came down the stairs. He looked pale and very freaked out. He pulled us aside, and asked us, "Have you ever had anything weird happen in this house, like paranormal stuff?" I could see the seriousness in his eyes. My girlfriend and I looked at each other and said, "No, why?" "Well, I had this really weird feeling when I was in the shower, and when I opened the door to leave the bathroom, I saw this girl run out of the room and into your guest room." I couldn't believe what he had just said. This wasn't something that could have been done as a prank. John isn't at all that kind of guy, and hates surprises. He's also very logical and doesn't believe in the supernatural. My girlfriend and I could clearly see a girl in the shower with him, but we couldn't make out any detail. GF was visibly freaking out at this point. "You saw someone run out of the bathroom with you?" I said. "GF and I just swore we saw you in the shower with Katie through the privacy glass." "What? You saw someone in there with me?" He looked like he was about to cry. "Fuck dude, what the fuck? This thing like ran through me. I thought I was losing my mind." We were absolutely baffled, and everyone elected to sleep on the couches downstairs that night. Nothing else really of note seemed to happen there after that, other than a few people mentioning that the guest room gave them the creeps. I don't know how this can be explained. My girlfriend and I had both seen this from outside, commented on it together while we were in the car where nobody inside the house could hear us. Then, completely independently, John comes down and mentions that he saw the same thing without us ever having mentioned it to anybody inside the house. I can't see how to logically explain how three people could see the same thing from two different angles. It really makes no sense to me as a skeptic of all things paranormal. As far as anecdotes go, it's pretty solid.